these are 3 examples of those applications. And I believe you're going to hear somebody from each of these in a minute. Routesy, Mom Maps, and EcoFinder. These are all iPhone apps. But they are based on the release of this data, and the applications and the services that are being provided, quite frankly, had really never been conceived of or considered by government employees, nor did we really have the resources to do it. So what we've essentially done by involving users as co-creators is really involve them in understanding our network and creating solutions that just wouldn't have been there without their support. The next area that we've been working on, and probably the newest area, is called Open Apps. Like many major cities, we have a 311 call center with a lot of data about what is happening in the city, what's wrong with the city, and how the challenges or questions are being asked of it. What we've decided to do, working with some partners in, it started off in Washington, D.C., and then a whole list of other cities, is come up with APIs that will enable cities to work together and come up with an application that will work regardless of the platform and regardless of the city that you're in. And we've done that. We've released the data, and here are 3 examples of applications that have been built as a result of that process, and you're going to hear more about that in a minute. Really aspirational is the open infrastructure piece. What would happen if the city started making available its fiber network with speeds up to 1 gig? What would happen if we opened up our sensor networks in the city and allowed others to access that data? What would happen if we also did that with our web-enabled applications so that the entire infrastructure stack of the city were made available? What could happen? What solutions could be built? And this really is the next stage of where we're going with open government. So, what does it take to make all of this work? We all know that government isn't known for its ability to move quickly. We also know that it's a big bureaucracy and oftentimes doesn't move very fast and just doesn't move at all. And so what does it actually take for us to get some of these things going? And I offer this as perhaps a way for you to understand why sometimes we don't move as quickly as we should. The first is that because we are in all of these silos in these departments and we're really working hard and focusing on our individual tasks, we don't talk to each other very often. So one of the things we are doing is creating a safe place to hear about new ideas, to have others come in and talk about the projects that they're doing, just to excite people that there is a new way of doing their job. And we call our effort Innovation at Work. And we have had 3 or 4 motivational speakers coming in from the private sector, the last one talking about open data. And we really are kind of blowing the minds of workers in San Francisco because they're now seeing the value of data in ways that they never understood before. The other thing we're doing is trying to give the workers of San Francisco tools to collaborate. A former employee of mine coined this term called Fab Lab. And really all it is a playground. It's a bunch of servers with applications and open source stuff on it. And what I allow them to do is just go in there and just try to figure out new combinations or new ways of providing services to the public. And they started off about 20% of their time, and I think you'll hear from Jay Nath coming up in just a minute. I think he spends just about 100% of his time just trying to figure out new ways of solving problems. But I think the biggest change that we're trying to change, or the biggest issue we're trying to change, is this idea that if I fail, it's a really bad thing. There's a very large fear of failure in government because the reaction can be pretty drastic and pretty bad. So what we're trying to do is change that to a fail-forward kind of approach. It's okay to fail as long as you keep the project or the ball going down the field. Mayor Newsom talks about that as well, failing forward, failing with a purpose, trying to achieve what is unachievable. And I think if we do that, the outcomes are greater innovation, cost savings, which is very important to government, like everybody else. But I think more importantly, we can create a government that is more transparent and accountable and collaborative. I was just asked before this session began what it actually takes in order to make this program and these projects successful. And I think there are really three things. One is dream large. I mean, Jen, come on. The idea for Code for America, not a small idea, right? Dream large. Who knows if it's actually going to work, but if you don't dream it first, it's not going to happen. Do things. We like to talk in government, and we talk a lot. But we actually don't do things very often. And what I've found is that if you roll up your sleeves and get people really working beside you, you can actually take a very small group of people and have a huge impact on the rest of government. And finally, inspire. We need to make sure that we're bringing everybody with us as we move forward. And through this Open Government initiative, we are doing that by unlocking the value of our own data, of our own workers, and partnering with the community and the private sector and the business community in order to make that happen. So in the end, when you put all of this together, you have the next generation of government. And that's what we're trying to build in San Francisco. And that's what you're going to hear about in a few minutes, the actual fun stuff that's being created. So with that said, so ends the lead-in band, the opening of this event. And I look forward to seeing and working with you as we move this agenda forward down the path. Thanks.